welcome to part 2 of my epoxy garage floor. And here again, I'm an amateur, I don't know what I'm talking about. Here is the epoxy kit. It says industrial grade, I don't know. The important part of this I'm showing, it's 2 parts and it's 100% solid, which means you're going to get good waterproofing. And the 2-part means it's not an epoxy unless it's 2 parts. You have to have the 2 parts. Resin, hardener, that makes a hard epoxy finish. Otherwise you're just painting. And I don't want paint, so primarily going for the waterproof thing. So here is part A is your resin. You're going to mix this in a separate bucket. There's 4 liters-ish in each of these, so I'm doing 1 liter of part A, 1 liter of part B on top, and then I mix it up with my drill here. I've got it on the 1 setting, which is the slower, like screw setting. 2 is like drilling. You don't want the higher speed, you want the lower speed. You're not supposed to mix it for longer than 3 minutes. I definitely didn't do 3 minutes. And I got a good mix. When we open those buckets, because this has been on the shelf at Lowe's so long, and it had been in my garage since the spring, probably March, the dye had kind of separated from the part A. So I mixed that up with the paint stick. I took a paint stick and stirred up the hardener, but there's nothing to separate in that. That is what it is. The hardener is it was like a red color. I'm assuming this was all still good material because I didn't use all of the product in the bucket. I had like maybe an inch in the bottom, and after an hour or a half, the bucket was hot to the touch, which is good because that means the chemical reaction is happening, so it's curing. So I was happy with that, although today is a 70-degree day with pretty good humidity because I think it's going to rain tomorrow, and it was definitely still tacky to the touch after 2 hours. So assuming the product does what it's supposed to do and hardens up, you won't see a part 3. If there's a part 3, I had an issue. But when we're all done with this, I'm going to take a 10-inch drywall knife, scrape up all the flake that's loose, use a broom and a pan, collect it all, and put it back in that bucket, and I have all the leftover for later if I need it. The kit came with that little baggie of black and white flakes. It's just, they're vinyl flaking. They're kind of expensive, but we bought all this before because at our previous home, we had a project that was a 2-part deal, and we never got to part 2 because we decided to take advantage of, the real estate bubble, part 2, and then, downsize, move to a smaller city like this, and, we're pretty happy that we made the move. But anyways, we're fixing up this old house. And this was kind of all worked out that we had all the flake, so here you can see how far that's going. That first little bit went a long way. Applying this, I thought it would go on thicker, but actually thinner was better. And it's going to kind of self-level. So if you go too thick, it's just kind of move around on you anyways. And when you throw the flake on, the flake will absorb into it. So if you have a lot of material on the ground, you throw the flake on it, it just like sinks to the bottom. So there's no point to having a whole bunch of resin. So you just want to make a coverage, and then by throwing the flake on there, you're building it up into a thicker result. But yeah, this took us less than 30 minutes. I mixed up another batch, and we used less than half of that kit. It's supposed to do 500 square feet, and it did this. This was just under 250 or around 250. So the kit does what it says it's going to do. I had left over in the bucket. And we used that cheap brush to get next to the wall. We got the cheap rollers, throwing all the stuff away. I'm not even bothering with trying to take acetone to clean this afterwards. And here I'm broadcasting the flakes out. My wife's doing the epoxy part. This is easy. The prep work's the tougher part. But even the prep work took less than 2 hours. You could do all this in one day. So don't be intimidated by this at all. It's going to be new to you, but once you get into it, I'm handy, but I'm not like a professional handyman. But if you have experience, if you work with your hands, you'll figure this stuff out. This is easy. So don't let anybody tell you this is a $6,000 job, because this is me and my wife doing it in 2.5 hours total labor and $220 product, and I'm adding $30 on there for the throwaway brushes and roller covers. So yeah, get in there and do it yourself. You know, if we screw this up, the only thing I would say is, if you're not doing the flake, you know, flat gray, that's fine. It's going to be slippery. You might want to, you know, add some sort of grit, maybe do a polyurethane on top of that. You could do a polyurethane coating on this or a clear epoxy on this. Also, I would add grit to it if you do that, but here it's going to be fine. We're going to take the flake off of this and clean it up, and that's going to be our finished product. So here is just us finishing up. So thanks for watching, and have a nice day.